Hello everyone, it is I, Deimos. Today we're beginning our series that dives into the weaknesses, strengths, and best practices when fighting the enemies of Aeternum. We will cover everything such as weapons, trophies, and gems. I think it's only fitting that we start with the most common enemies and move into the more uncommon each episode. To prevent this from becoming a huge video, this will be spread out over 5 videos to give each enemy class its own episode. Today we'll be covering the Corruption. Let's begin. When fighting the Corrupted, you'll be wanting a weapon with thrust damage. This includes bow, musket, rapier, and the spear. Thrust damage does 20% more damage to Corruption, over slash damage for example that only deals 100% damage. To further maximize damage on these weapons, we should attach the proper gems. Corruption is weak to Arcane, dealing 30% extra damage, and Nature, dealing 15% extra damage. For Arcane damage, a Sapphire, preferably Pristine, will give your weapon Arcane damage, which will give you the maximum amount of damage possible without adding perks, trophies, or coatings. However, if you're a healer, don't worry because you're already going to be doing 15% extra damage to the Corruption, and if you have a normal weapon and you want to slot in an Amber gem, that will give you your nature damage. So moving on from weapons, let's talk trophies. These will be a great way to get even more damage against the Corruption. We have minor trophies giving an extra 6% damage, costing just some steel, lumber, stain, and life motes. Then we have the basic Corruption trophies, giving an 8% increase, and it costs Star Metal, Weirdwood, Oak Stain, a Corrupted Crest, I'll go over that in a minute, and your old minor trophy. Finally, we have the Major Corruption Trophy, giving a whopping 10% increase in damage against the Corruption. Now this one is going to be a tough one to make. It requires Ironwood, Orichalcum, Mahogany Stain, a Corrupted Totem, and your old basic trophy. So even if you only have minor stacked across 3 houses, that's 18% extra damage, which is noticeable. Basics fully stacked will give you 24%, and finally 3 majors will give you an increase in 30%, which is massive. Getting 3 majors, however, is going to be tricky, but the basics should be easy to make. I've found at least 5 Corrupted Crests in the world so far, and on my server, which isn't the most populous, they're pretty cheap for just how good they are. These crests are found in level 35 plus Corrupted enemies, and you may even already have enough for 3 trophies and not even realize it. The Corrupted Totem is going to be hard to find. I've never seen one, and I don't have any listed on my server. I assume they're in the game, but there are certain legendary crafting parts that are not dropping. This is a known issue to Amazon, so for now, just focus on getting at least 1 basic Corruption trophy, and preferably 3. Now moving on to coatings and perks. These are going to be incredibly helpful in your journey to stopping the Corruption. This late in the game, infused Corruption coatings can be bought off market for reasonable prices and give a massive 15% increase in damage. Powerful gives 13% increase, Strong 11%, and Common giving an acceptable 9% extra damage. These are cheap and effective ways to deal massive damage to Corruption enemies. These are things you should definitely have if you want to win invasions or want to clear Murkgard in a single group before someone else shows up and starts leeching your kills. Finally, we have perks, and there is only one, and it's the Corruption's Bane, achieved by using a Shard of Batalis. All 580 weapons will have this perk, and it's clocked in at 18%, so my guess is a 600 gear score weapon with this perk will have a maximum of 20% extra damage, which alone isn't much, but if you combine all these damage methods, we get a maximum of 115% increase in extra damage. That means you'll have more than doubled your damage to the Corruption enemies. Talk about a melt machine. This whole time you've been watching me run 3 basic trophies, an optimized weapon which has thrust damage, a Sapphire gem for arcane damage, and Corruption's Bane since I'm using the Torrent, the 580 bow, and an infused coating. And look at just how much damage I'm doing to these enemies. And I'm not even fully maxed. I still don't have the major trophies or a 600 gear score bow, and I'm still doing an extra 107% damage. This is what people who run invasions should be using and doing, maximizing your builds for the enemies you face. Of course, everything does work on everything, but if you want the best results, maximize your gear, maximize your trophies, and use the best coatings you can. Now, to wrap up the video, let's talk about what's not best for our Corrupted foes. Strike, aka the Warhammer, is not an optimal weapon type because it only does 85% damage against the Corruption, losing you 15% damage overall. And Ice doing even less, clocking in at 60% damage. That's a 40% damage drop off, so I better not be seeing any Ice Gauntlets and Invasions after this video. Luckily, those are the only 2 damage types that the Corruption are strong against, so just avoid those and you'll be good. Anything I didn't list is at 100% damage, so you'll be doing normal damage with like Slash, Thunder, and so forth. I hope you guys all learned something and enjoyed the video. Next one will be about the lost enemies, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And if you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe for more. Have a great rest of your all's day, and I'll see all of you next time.